Which Everton manager of recent years was the luckiest and unluckiest? I suppose you've got a blank canvas of going back.
I think a lot of supporters probably think that Silva was probably a little bit unlucky, don't they? That he should have been given more time, especially given his Premier League success with Fulham, who are having another good season at the moment. Possibly he should have been given more time. I'd say he'd definitely be up there with the unluckiest. The luckiest manager, if it would be controversial, Howard. Howard had the reputation for being a lucky manager.
Okay. I don't think many would disagree with that, to be honest.
Yeah. For a number of reasons. First of all, when he joined in 81, he brought the Magnificent Seven, the 7 players that, apart from Southall, didn't work out. And if it was just on that, he would have struggled. He was lucky that he had a reserve team. I've said before on the pod, haven't I, that you see our reserve team in the start of Howard's reign and had like Sharp in, Kevin Ratcliffe, Gary Stevens, Kevin Richardson, Graham Sharp, all in the reserves, and that became his team. That was the first thing. I think he was also lucky in that our glory periods in the mid-80s corresponded with the fact that was Liverpool's worst team, even though they did do the double on the season, in the 20 years from 1970 to 1991. That certainly assisted. I certainly think it didn't affect how great we were in 84, 85, but that certainly helped. And there was 2 or 3 other things in there. But you need luck to win trophies, and what's that to say? What's the Gary Player thing about the harder you try, the luckier you get. And I think Howard had luck at quite a few occasions during his time as manager, and that helped winning trophies. But it wasn't the reason they won trophies. So I think Howard was lucky. I think Colin Harvey was unlucky in some respects as well. In that, in the late 80s, when he started buying players, like Pat Nevin, Stuart McCall and stuff, there's just been a big increase in money in the Premier League, and they came in on bigger money, and not in the Premier League, the old First Division. They came in on bigger money than the team from the mid-80s, and I think that caused a little bit of bad feeling in the dressing room, and that wasn't of Colin's doing. It was just happenstance that you had to put players on big money than the established players, because that's what that was what was in the game at the time, and that caused him problems in the dressing room. And I think he was unlucky with that. And same thing happened to Liverpool, by the way. And so Colin was unlucky, but actually Colin shouldn't have been given the job. I don't think it was a snap decision by Philip Carter, possibly. But yeah, Colin was another one who could say. I can't think of many who were unlucky.
Well, I'm going to counter. I'm going to answer myself. I'm going to counter. Luckiest, Sam Allardyce. And the reason behind it came in at a time when everyone thought Everton were going to get relegated, because obviously disaster start from Ronald Koeman in that season. 2 weeks later, we were out the relegation zone and we finished 8th. Yeah. That was not a team that was going to get relegated.
No,
luckiest.
That's a fair point, yeah.
Unluckiest, David Moyes. Came in at a time when the billionaires started coming into the Premier League. Chelsea, United, Liverpool, City were obviously a little bit later. Obviously, Arsenal still able to spend a lot of money. But I'll also go along to say that FA Cup final against Chelsea, we've just been talking about the best team on paper. He wasn't able to put his best team out on paper on that day. Arteta, Yakubu, Jagielka, all missing.
Yeah.
If Lampard, Terry and Drogba were missing from that Chelsea team, there'd be a different proposition. So
Chelsea could have still bought good players in, but that proves the point is what I'm saying.
So there's my 2 answers.
Yeah, no, I think
I'll disagree. I'll do it from a different point of view then. 2 really good responses actually there, from the both quite varied. And I'll look at the question in another way, and I'll say the luckiest manager was Rafael Benitez. The fact that he came in as Everton manager, as a former Liverpool manager for Farhad Moshiri to make that, the most controversial appointment in Merseyside football history, the most passionate football city in the country. And it wasn't just any old Liverpool manager. I think it wouldn't have been the same sort of uproar if it had been Brendan Rodgers, say, whatever you think of him. But the fact that, a manager who'd described Everton petulantly after a goalless draw in the derby as a small club and all of that. So on that score, Rafael Benitez, the luckiest Everton manager. And as much as I probably agree a lot with Gavin that it was an appointment in which both parties were out of their depth, I'd say the unluckiest Everton manager, Carlo Ancelotti, because most of his reign ended up behind closed doors. So it was this strange sort of environment, and it wasn't. Who knows? I mean, I guess if Real Madrid had come calling, he was always going to go back there, and obviously with the PSR stuff in the horizon, so it might have been a moot point. But yeah, just the fact that the bulk of his reign ended up in that weird sort of environment behind closed doors. So different way of looking at the question.
Since going back to Benitez, I heard him on the podcast the other week, and he said he'd been told that he was going to get when he took over. He was going to get told that he got told that he was going to get a load of money, off
a load of stick
off the owner,
yeah.
And he ended up getting £1.7 million, and
it's a mighty great thing,
you only had to look at our, and he does his research. Benitez, doesn't he? You only have to look at our financial statements for the previous couple of years, and the losses that we were making. That there was no way that you were ever going to get 150 million quid or whatever you're being promised. You're always going to get buttons. So yeah, Benny said Ancelotti, I agree to a point. I'd say that he was lucky in the fact that actually see the turgid stuff we played in the second half of the season, less than a goal a game on average. Yeah. That wasn't it was
awful to watch.
That wasn't in front of a crowd. That said, it was false football that season. And you could say that actually would have worked out differently if there'd been a passionate Goodison crowd and stuff. But yeah, it's interesting we come up, three of us.
Yeah,
three different answers.
Well, in the comments, there's loads of others as well.
Yeah.
Sean Dyche, luckiest manager, 6 wins since December. That's Alex Jones. What else? Bingham and Lee.
Yeah.
Unlucky?
No, neither. No, Dyche is a good one, isn't it? Dyche, you could say, is a lucky manager because of the turbulence at boardroom level, both because of the new ownership and just because of what's gone before with the board and the fans and so on. That there's been less scrutiny of him by the owners. That they're just happy just to keep on there, and that's worked for him, definitely. It's also worked against him that it's probably stopped him getting another contract that actually he may have deserved if there'd been a permanent board there for keeping us up twice. Last season, as we well know, we would have been mid-table without deduction. So, yeah, Dyche, you could say, has been lucky, but you could also say he's been unlucky.
What a question from Tom Parry. This has covered about 6, 7, 8 minutes of the podcast.
Like Carlo, simultaneously the luckiest and luckiest.
Yeah. No, it is true, isn't it? We said that before on the pod. That what's worked against Dyche for some occasions, because of the board, has also worked against him on some occasions. That in a normal circumstance, you'd argue I'd be sitting on the 3-year contract now from the end of next season.
Ian Clark says Gordon Lee.
No.
Unlucky.
No. We've been lucky in the 77 Cup final, semi-final against Liverpool, but actually that Clive Thomas should have allowed the goal, but there was a replay. It didn't stop us winning the game. It didn't stop us losing the game. In the replay, we were rubbish. Over 4 years, Lee and Bingham, you could say it's unlucky, but they weren't really. It just weren't good enough.
Just thought of another case for Moyes. One name, 2 words. Pierluigi Collina.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I think you won that one.
I've nailed it, haven't I?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm just trying to think of but that would have only taken the game level, wouldn't it? If he'd scored. Okay, the momentum
got it down another cul-de-sac.
But that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's just,
the momentum was very much with Everton at that stage. I mean,
you can't say what was going to happen. That's like the Clive Thomas thing, isn't it? It was 2-2.
Yeah.
And they went to replay. Well, if we were good, we would have competed in the replay. But we didn't compete.
But maybe if it is those chances, because I can remember that was the one saving grace at Villarreal were clearly a better team. So you only get one bite of the cherry. You've got to take your opportunities when they come against these teams. So whether it's against a great Liverpool team in the late 70s or a Villarreal team in 2005.
I think that's a fair point in that where Moyes was unlucky. He got a team who reached the semi-final and they were within a penalty away getting to the final, weren't they? Because
he was unlucky just getting drawn against them in the first place.
Saved the penalty.
Yeah.
But you did Liverpool get Storm Graz of Austria in the same round.
I remember them going past TNS and stuff
Storm
like that.
Graz of Austria was in the same round as we played Villarreal. So it was unlucky. I remember him saying, it might have been on the pod, yourselves about like when they got found out in the draw that they were playing Villarreal, like Arteta was like his head in his hands.
Both David Moyes and Ellen Irvin both told that tale.
Yeah.
Interesting that.
Yeah.
So that he was unlucky there, Moyes, to be fair, and it was a couple of times, but I just think back to the 2012 semi-final against Liverpool where we were quite obviously a better team than Liverpool for about 3 years, from 2010 to 2013, and we had Liverpool where we wanted them. We can see second or third string goalkeeper, wasn't it?
Yeah, fair choice, Brad Jones.
And we threw it away. So for
we bowled it.
Yeah.
Is he not unlucky again though? So it's, the dependable Sylvain Distan?
Possibly, but that makes it 1-1. You react, don't you? Yeah. That's the thing. Yeah. And as much as I think Moyes sometimes gets stick for bottling it, I don't think there's any other managers that bottle it. And it even talk about bottling the Chelsea Cup finally at all right.
No chance for that.
But I do think that was one game where, as a manager, he should have done more in terms of how the players reacted.
I think when I spoke to him, to be fair, that seemed to be the one that rankled with him, didn't he? He admitted that himself. Okay, you talk about Fiorentina, obviously that was really frustrating, the fact that he absolutely battered them. Shouldn't have gone to penalties, they should have just won that.
But that wasn't, we got overrun in Italy, didn't we? We lost that game in the first leg, lost that time. We were dreadful in Italy. But I do think you're right about Moyes in the overarching principle of his managerial reign, that he was, he'd finished fifth, and there was probably 2 or 6. There was 2 teams above him who were only there because they got Middle East investment. Yeah, City and Chelsea. Chelsea wouldn't have existed if Abramovich didn't come in. So they would have been out of the equation completely. So you'd argue that for a lot of the time in his reign, we would have been in top 4, which would have been Champions League. I know Sif spoke to maybes, but I think you could say that he came in when the landscape of English football was changing, and his performances and his acquisition of players were fully justified in getting the top 4, really. Yeah, all things considered.
Absolutely. Well, that has covered a good chunk of the podcast. We'll move on.
That's a good question.
The Royal Blue Podcast from the Liverpool Echo.